Welcome to episode 3. We got our special guest on, Smash One Percenter, an active member of the Pagans Motorcycle Club. And he was speaking on the interview that Skid, a out bad member of the Pagans, did on another channel. And he's got a couple points, he's got a couple corrections that he wants to bring up. We're going to get a lot more in depth into his thinking and his overall opinion of his former brother, if you will. But one thing that is good, and I got to give a shout out and a lot of credit for the Pagans Motorcycle Club putting their side of the story out so everyone can hear, because a lot of times we get a lot of out bad people that are on these platforms and they just have a chip on their shoulder. They want to make their old club look bad, and clubs need to fight back on that, and clubs need to fight back on the media as well. So I'm giving that shout out to the Pagans, man. That was, you did the freaking awesome thing right there to let everybody know the way this guy really was, and that he is out bad, and hopefully other motorcycle clubs don't take him in. So we're going to be back with Smash right after this.
James Hollywood, Mexicari, living the dream. From the open road to the Outlaw's code. Breaking news coming hot, about to explode. Insane throttle, burning up the night, full on rebellion, ready for the fight. Wheels keep spinning, no fear, no chains. Hollywood's calling, pumping through your veins. Insane throttle.
All right, man. This is part 3 of the interview with Smash, and this is actually the interview after the other parts of that interview with the Out Bad Skid were released. So we'll get some of his thoughts right there. I know it was hard to watch myself, so I quit, and I know Smash probably quit halfway through. I didn't even make it through the first 5 or 10 minutes of that one. I was like, I'm done. Sorry. But anyway, we got you on for your third part of the interview, and you had some corrections that you wanted to make.
Yeah, not many. There is definitely one. So, like again, I think I made it very clear the first time. If I'm wrong on something, I have no problem correcting myself. Um, so I actually ended up reaching out to a couple of other guys that were Jackals at the time. I saw a couple of posts, and there was one that was very strong and adamant about the whole president's thing. So I did reach out, and I did speak to actually 2 other founding members, and they're like, yeah, they're like, we made him he's like, I don't know the exact word. He was like, yeah, he's like, you were not there. They did it at a last ditch effort. Our Philly chapter was getting pretty big, and they split it. He was only a diamond with us for a couple of weeks. Wasn't long. So I definitely got to give the credit where the credit is due. I mean, he went as far as going on Facebook. He took a picture of a cut with a diamond on it. One of the old diamonds.
Mm.
Um, along with other things, he's talking about, oh, for a guy who doesn't ride a motorcycle, I ride all the time. Uh,
Yeah,
that,
they do kind of get butthurt when you start calling out their BS.
yeah, at the, it, it's tough sometimes, why? Because, they're upset. He was upset. I seemed upset that, I called him out. I'm like, well, you're wearing an SS shirt. You shouldn't even have that. You know, we never put, one in my, like you did say, chapters. Every chapter is run different. Every area is run different. Um, it's like anything else in the world. Nothing is exactly the same. And it's specifically in our area. There was never any social media, ever. Um, Pictures that were taken, they were only taken with you and your brothers. Things of that nature. But yeah, I don't need to run around and pegging stuff all the time. You know, I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to portray it out there. I go very, so many places, and people already know that I'm a pagan. I don't need to advertise it. You know, one of the best times I ever had, we went out with another chapter, you know, a little distance from where I'm at, and they're, you know, one of the rules: no club stuff, nothing. We're just going out. We're having a great time. Best time we ever had. And you know what? Everybody knew who we were when we were there. We didn't have to wear our cuts. We didn't have to wear our t-shirts. We didn't have to wear our hats. We just went out as brothers. We went out as friends, you know, and we had a great time. Um, and and that's part of it. You don't always have to be flamboyant about it and be like, yo, here's my Pagans cut. Here's my Pagan shirt. Here's my Pagans hat. Here's my 1% chain. Here, you know, here's all this. Here's that. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I'm not that kind of, I'm not that kind of guy, you know. Um, there is a
I
lot
do,
of different.
I do want to address because he is running around on the internet, social media, and stuff, saying that the video of him is fake. It was AI. Well, this video came out years ago, before AI was even capable of putting that stuff out there. I've seen the video, and it is real. And there's no AI about it. You know, he could teach. I ain't gonna get into that, but anyway,
Listen,
uh,
and on top of that, AI is very clear. It's not, you know, pixelated or anything like that. I know there's somebody that made the comments. This guy definitely didn't do this. I've seen him ride around my hood. You know, listen,
hey,
whether he
which
did,
more power to you, man. If that's your thing, it's your thing. But that's just not. It don't go with a lot of clubs, man.
yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and bash him for it. If that's what he did, that's what he did. Can I say that the video is 100% him? No, I can't say that because I didn't see the video get made. Can I say that there is a lot of um, extremely strong similarities? You
Yeah.
know, with tattoos and things of that nature. Yeah, it is. You
Mm.
know, and but real quick, I mean, I jumping around a little bit here. Been a busy day, but you know, back to the other thing, I did stand corrected. He did hold a diamond in the Jackals, and you know, I was down in the Bucks area. He was up in the northeast and middle of the Philly area. And I really didn't pay that much attention to it anyway. By that time, we had already had everything in the works to, you know, consolidate and move on, like I said, to the bigger corporation. So just so everybody knows, I do stand corrected. He did wear that patch, you know, without a doubt. He even made it a point to tell on his Facebook page that he may have one or two extras in his drawer. So
So he
I
didn't even put 'em in.
you know, sentimental value, maybe I don't know. So
Mm.
so if anybody needs like an extra old Jackals diamond patch, feel free to reach out to Skids. You can find them on Fox 29, MSNBC, Nancy Grace, Montel Williams, oh no, Jerry Springer's dead. Never mind. And then of course, you know, podcasts, and I'm sure he'll help you out with getting one of those diamonds patches.
Yeah, he'll
So
probably sell them to you.
yeah, you know, and as
'Cause
far as
that's
my
the way
ward,
they are, man.
yeah, as far as my wardrobe goes, I'm going to dress the way I want to dress. I'm going to look the way I want to look. Uh, you know, he can call me Crash all he wants, you know. Uh, Definitely had one or two of those without a doubt. You know what I
We
mean?
all have, man. I had one 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
It's something that you're gonna face if you ride a bike.
Yeah, and the only reason, I mean, he brought up he mentioned other things on there, stupid stuff like childish, uh, playground bullshit. That, and I know who we got it from. It was actually a very good friend. Thought somebody I thought was a good friend of mine. That I do know is friends with him. So I'm sure it came from him, which is fine. You know,
Mm.
come at me all you want. If if that's what makes you feel better, hey, that's on you. You know, started watching more and more of his podcast, man, and it was like, you know, I think, in my opinion, he kind of goes at it. he's trying to say how great the club is, which our club ain't great. It's bad. It's number one in the world. There isn't a better nation out there. And I see that, he tried to portray it as a good thing and all these good times and all these, single sons of anarchy moms, and all that kind of stuff. But my biggest thing about his interviews was, talking locations and things of that nature. Different types of meetings, different areas, places he may have gone. He even brought up Border to Shore, which hasn't been around for years. Which, yeah, we still do. It's at another. It's just at another location now. That's all. It's
Mm.
plain and simple. And if you know, you know, and if you know, you go. You know.
And if you claim to love the club so much, why are you giving out locations?
Yeah, and again, a lot of people could sit there and say, well, a location wasn't given because he didn't say it was on 123 Friendly Street. 123 Friendly Street, I don't know where that is. But if you tell me that I'm gonna meet you at, the Wawa near the Big Red Ball, then I know I'm gonna meet you at Wawa near Target.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
in our world, an exact address is irrelevant. But giving up a geographical ideology of where something may be, that's more of, giving up giving up your 20 more than anything, which is not club related. Another comment on there was, and it was by I don't know the numbers, but it was by a guy named John, which if it may very well be the John I used to ride with, stand up guy, really really cool, awesome dude, fun to be around. Uh, if it is him, much love, respect, brother. Hope you're doing well. I hope life is treating you good. But he's 100% right. There wasn't all these cell phones and people videotaping and pictures everywhere you go and things of that nature. And that's he talks about he's the most photographed pagan out there, and the feds are driving around in vans. And then he talks about parties where they're giving the cops booze and food or vice versa or whatever. Like, there was no need for any of that. If you wanted to do right by the pagan nation, all you had to say was, I had a great time with my brothers. We rode around. We did cool shit. We enjoyed each other's company. We handled our business and we went on with our day. Bam. Guess what? We summed it all up in 30 seconds. Done.
Mm.
We didn't give up anything. And a lot of times people may say, oh, well, that wasn't important. You don't know if that was important or not. You don't know if a meeting he
Especially when
talked
it
about.
comes to the feds.
Yeah, you don't know if he's talking about meetings and this, that, and a third. You don't talk about that stuff. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what your status is. It's you keep your mouth shut. You just don't say anything. And again, he may have tried to have good intentions, but at the end of the day, it's just everything he said just it backfired and shot him right in the foot. Like, you didn't do yourself any good, and you didn't do yourself any good if you're trying to come back to this world,
Mhm.
because now your chances are slim to none. And like I said, he can post whatever he wants about me on Facebook to all of his friends and everything else, and
Mm.
so be it. I don't care. I'm a grown ass man. Sticks and stones, man. Sticks and stones.
I
Plain and
think
simple.
clubs are put at a disadvantage when they're at least not contacted in the background, if you know what I mean, off platform, where they can give I'm not saying, hey, don't platform everybody, but at least get their side where you can challenge the person that you're interviewing. The clubs are at such a disadvantage because you do see all these out bad guys online and they're just talking some hellacious crap about them, and they got to sit there and take it. And that's why I'm so glad that the pagans stepped up and said, you know what? No, enough's enough of this.
Yeah,
Because
and
clubs are getting destroyed by these people.
yeah, they are. And another thing I would point out also is, and at one point in time, myself included, when I first got into this life, um, you know, you have to learn to be able to read a question really fast. So when somebody asks you a question, you have to be able to know exactly what that question is, because even myself, um, as getting started in this world, sometimes I didn't think before I spoke, and I would catch myself mid sentence, which is still bad, and with Skids, he's a high energy individual. You can tell he's a high energy individual. And at the same time, if you listen to questions that are being asked now, I'm not pointing any blame or, putting any speculation out there, you know, when you're in the middle of a very fast paced conversation, which all them interviews, that he's on are very fast paced, in my opinion. That's just me. You know, it's an answer that's a rambled on answer, and then a real hit question, and then an answer, and then a real hit question. So at the same time, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's not 110% saying like giving the answers that he's given, but he's already gotten so far into the answer he can't stop himself.
Hmm.
Because
Here's my problem with him, and I'll say it because you can't. Uh, Here's my problem. He has gone out and done interview after interview. He has already voiced issues that he had with the club. The feds now know he is not part of the club. So I wouldn't be surprised he gets a knock on his door by one and the questions start coming.
well,
I've seen that a million times on the street where somebody gets all butt hurt, and the only difference now it's on the internet. And like you said, he's going around posting on all kinds of Facebook and stuff. So he's butthurt by your interview. But that's just something that I'm looking at. Like, yeah, I wouldn't even be talking to this dude no more.
yeah, and there are some other things, and I'm I guess I don't know, maybe this is politically correct. I'm a walking contradiction to everything he's saying, because I've experienced it. I've seen my wife's face when some of the brothers give her a hug. And, one brother unfortunately passed about a year and a half ago. He's a phenomenal, phenomenal guy, really awesome guy. Which brings up 2 points actually. Was at one point living in his car because he didn't have a house and he had two dogs, and nobody would take him with his dog. So we did what we had to do. We ended up, unfortunately, we found him a place, and he had passed days before he could get into the house.
No, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
But fortunately we were there to get his wife and his child, safely and secure. And he talked, about a brother that rode around on his bike all night because he was homeless. And he was happy to be able to ride around all night. And that's a great thing, to have that honor and that dignity, knowing that, that them colors that you have on, you want everybody 24 hours a day to see them, to see who you are, to see who you represent. And who that man represented was the greatest 1% nation in the world.
Hmm.
You know,
What
they
is it
they
that people don't get about the pagans, you think? Do you think their opinions are shaped by the media, by law enforcement? What don't they get?
you know what, in my opinion, the media and law enforcement, they walk hand in hand. Because at the end of the day, and again, I'm not defaming the police. I'm not, they have a
I
job to do.
will.
They
I
do.
will.
No, I got you. And there's some jerk offs that are out there without a doubt. There really are.
99% of them, yeah.
Yeah, you know, but everybody wants to twist the narrative, and they don't even. It's like, even the public. Like I said, I told my wife, do a search. Just Google your neighborhood and look what you found. But you don't hear about them people. You don't hear about that shit. All you
Mm.
hear about is, guess what? A pagan was in line at Wawa and farted. Who cares? An old man was standing behind him and shit himself. You didn't say nothing about that.
Mm.
They want to stereotype us as white trash, drug addicts, and all this other stuff.
And
What they,
that's not the case. You actually got a brother club that you had forever, the Thunder Guards.
yeah, without a doubt. And if you actually, when you look on my cut on the pictures you post, you'll see the patch right at the bottom.
Mm.
There is a Thunder Guards patch. We bless the Thunder Guards with their diamond. You know, and the world is changing, and with the world changing, the clubs change.
Mm.
And it's evolution. It's the way it is. Um, and unfortunately, it's interviews like Skids that give us a bad name and give a lot of clubs a bad name.
Oh, most definitely right there because the media picks up on that. He went on the Fox, what, 26 or something like that,
29.
29, and they're getting that from him. And they're saying, yeah, everyone in that club's that way, where
Yeah,
that's not the truth whatsoever.
not at all. And it's like I told you, we got brothers from all walks of life.
Well, that's what I was going
Uh,
to say. The media doesn't understand that it's not the 1960s or through the 90s anymore. There
no,
are professionals in diamond clubs now. I knew clubs that had lawyers in them, doctors in them,
yeah,
attorneys in them.
yeah, and
It ain't the old 40 years ago when it wasn't cool to be a biker. It's a lot different now in clubs. And a lot of people in clubs, they don't want to get caught up in the BS. They're not out there looking to get RICO'd. They're not out there to do 25 to life. They go to work. A lot of my people drive trucks, are mechanics, and there are some professionals that watch us. So I
oh,
think
yeah,
that is one of the biggest issues where I think clubs need to fight back against this kind of stuff because, yeah, we cover the news. And a lot of people don't realize this ain't on a daily basis. It's happening. This is happening all over the country, and it's a big damn country. So,
yep.
yeah, you're going to pull from that kind of stuff. And the news, if it bleeds, it leads. That's just the way it is. And you can say that on a channel like ours, even though we've been trying to do a lot of different stuff covering other aspects of the biker scene. That's what they'll watch is the blood and guts stuff. But it is far from reality that to be a diamond, you got to be a criminal. It's far from reality.
Exactly. And if
And
you
you're
look at
right.
the back,
I
if
like,
you look at my cut, I live a very straightforward life. You know what I
mhm.
mean? It's just like, what else did he say? Oh, there's a lot of brothers out there that they paid their way. They did this, they did that. Come on, man. Really? You want to sit here and say how great the club is, but then you're going to sit there and say that guys are buying their way, they're doing favors. Come on, stop with that nonsense. That's bullshit.
One thing I think a lot of people got confused about was with Conan. There is a tape of him saying, yeah, it cost you 600 to join. The problem is people took that out of line. They don't when I was in a club, it costed me 900, but that's after your probate. That's after your prospect. You're paying for that patch at the end of your time in. So just because he said it costs 600 to join a club, yeah, after you're done with your prospect period. And a lot of people take that all out of freaking aspect.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. One, I haven't seen the video or heard of that. And I'm sure there's a lot more to it if there is such a video out there. Not saying that there's not. But you know,
They took it out way out of line is what I'm saying because you'll see it all over the internet now. Yeah, he was on tapes, but they didn't explain it. It costs you money to join a club, you dummies. It
It costs
costs
you
you
money to go. It costs you money to have a job.
exactly.
You know,
So just because goes out there and says, "Well, this is how much it costs to join," that don't mean you're buying your way in the club. It means you got a prospect, and then this is how much it's going to cost you for your colors.
well,
I just wanted to make that clear because I get a lot of that.
yeah.
That's not the case. And
Listen,
now him parroting it, that don't help anybody.
yeah. Listen, I was a mechanic for 23 years. I spent on average $30,000 a year on tools. Does that mean my shop was a criminal organization?
I guarantee you, man.
Because I bought my,
I got about that much in my garage right now. It costs a lot of money to be an auto.
that's my whole point. Dollars and cents are dollars and cents, and that's
Mm.
just the way I look at it. You know, again, the whole
But
the whole
I
thing.
just wanted the club come and try to explain it to people because a lot of people are going to watch this that don't take stuff out of context. And now
Yeah,
you got this guy that's pushing it, which if you're supposed to love your club, what the hell are you doing parroting the BS?
yeah. The biggest thing that I can say to anybody watching this video, especially guys that you know maybe they have a friend here or there, or they've seen a pagan running down the street, whatever, you know, because we're always running, man. When we're on our bikes, I remember one of my best rides. I was coming back from an event, and I was on a major highway, and me and my brother, we were doing at least. Well, I know he was stopped out at 125. I still had room to go, and we were cooking like that for at least a good 30 minutes straight. You know,
Mm,
but if I get anybody that is going to watch this, the best thing I can tell you is this: if you really want to be a part of this nation and you want to be a part of the true brotherhood and camaraderie, find a local pagan chapter. Listen, we're everywhere. When you see a pagan, if you don't know any better, never approach a pagan wearing any type of gloves and sunglasses. If you see two pagans talking, wait until they're done talking and they acknowledge you. Excuse yourself, go in, properly introduce yourself, shake their hand. Any pagan will be more than happy to talk to you. But one of the problems is a lot of people, they're given misinformation, they go at things the wrong way, and then we get these misinterpretations of what the club really is.
mm,
And that's one of the biggest problems. Listen, man, I would tell any person, whether you got to be a minimum of 18, but 18 all the way up to however old you may be. You want to be part of the greatest nation in the world. All you have to do is find a local pagan. Find one of them filling up at a gas station. You see them riding their bikes in the pack down the road, follow politely behind them. When they stop, get off your bike, go over, take off your helmet, take off your sunglasses, take off your riding gloves, properly introduce yourself to a brother. You know, they'll let you ride around with them all day long. You'll be out, they'll keep you out for hours, you know, and, the way he comes across on his videos, you can't do that with a pagan, and, my kids know straight out, you ever in trouble, you call a pagan. If you can't find a pagan, you find somebody who you think would be a pagan and you go to them. They will find daddy as fast as possible, no matter who they are. I would trust my child, any one of my kids, with a pagan that I've never met before I would trust them with my own neighbor.
mm.
Plain and simple. If I had, and the thing that really, really irked me was that guy. He kept talking about riding around 20, being homeless. If you're about helping people, why the fuck didn't you give him a couch to sleep on? Why didn't you put his horse in your stable, his bike in your garage, let him crash on your couch? You know, why didn't you give him a spot to sleep in your garage? You know, why not? You
That's
want
what
to talk about how great this brother was. then you should have been great to him in return, and you should have gave him a roof over his fucking head. But instead, we want to call a local news station, talk about how much fun we had, fucking drinking, doing stupid shit on his own accord, nothing to do with the nation, but talked about how good a homeless brother was. Why don't you talk about how you helped that homeless brother out?
Hmm. Very good points right there, man. And I know you had a couple other things you wanted to talk about because I know we go way to the right or way to the left. What else you got?
Yeah. No, it's just we did a couple of the things, the questions. The one fella, he reached out, privately, asked about like the whole Jewish thing and all that. And these are questions that a lot of guys are probably afraid to ask any biker, let alone a pagan. When you see a pagan, you're walking up to the number one nation in the world. You're gonna feel intimidated. Don't feel intimidated. Just be a man. Introduce yourself properly and
That's one
figure
thing
it out.
that's one thing that's been lost in the internet age. You to go look at videos I had years ago that said, you know what, don't go on the internet trying to find somebody, go find a member and introduce yourself. And it was such a culture shock to me that a lot of clubs are using the internet now as recruiting tools. And I'm sitting there, what happened?
Yeah, yeah. And
And that's the
then
same thing with MC protocol, man. And I know I bash guys, but you're not going to learn that online. You got to learn it from the club in your area.
listen, I'm a perfect example, and I said it in the first video. I was actually friends before I was ever involved in the clubs. I had a friend who was in the breed,
That's one of the uh,
and
God, is that an old school club?
unfortunately, he was killed by a drunk driver, a girl named Devin Crispo. She pulled
Mm,
out him in front of him. He laid his bike down, got crushed underneath of her car. He died
man.
from compression asphyxiation. And
Well, I'm telling
the
you what, man, the breed, that's an old school scooter tramp club right there, man.
yeah, they linger, but and that was before I ever had any knowledge, anything about any of the outlaw MC world. You know, and it's just it's just like there's so much there. I really just want to kind of like blow up, but I'm
Uh,
not. I'm not going to do that.
but you
Um,
know what I mean? You got to go to the club to learn all this stuff.
yeah,
Because there are so many regions within the United States, so many ways people think of stuff that you can take something that somebody's saying from the internet and that don't go like in Chicago. And I always bust on BD for this, the 99% stuff. You don't bring that up in Chicago because there's a club called the DC Eagles that had that since the 60s. So that's a no-go right there. And a
listen,
lot of people don't get that.
no, and like I said, if there's something you want to do and you want to try to start your own little thing or whatever, reach out to a pagan. Find a pagan. I wish I would have when I tried starting my very first club, you know, but it's a blessing that I did do that because guess where it led me? It led me to
Saves
the
you
nation.
headaches.
It
Yeah,
led
it
me to
saves
the
you
nation.
headaches.
you know. So as far as he goes, man, I stand corrected on the whole. He did have his president's patch, whatever. I was a founding member. I was Mother Club of the Jackals. So I don't give a shit what patch he wore. It doesn't bother me either way. And it
Hmm.
wasn't important enough for anybody to come barreling down on my door and say, "Oh, smash, smash! We made we gave Skids a diamond patch. He's gonna be a diamond for the next 2 or 3 weeks before we step up." I wouldn't have cared. I'd been like, whatever, you know. Um,
One
my
thing
run
I
was
would suggest to them right now is because I've been doing this a long time, is back
just,
away. Get out of the
I would,
spotlight, man, because you look bad right now.
in his videos, he kept talking about how, spending time with his grandchildren and his son. And that's, if I was him, that's what I would be doing. Spend that quality time with your family. Don't worry about these interviews. Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about whatever you used to do. Worry about them. Worry about them kids. Have fun with them. Go to their little league games. And that was something else, I wanted to address. He's talking about, oh, there's guys that only do this and only do that and only do this and only do that, and they come and go as they please and this, that, and third. That's far from the truth. Far from the truth. You know, I had a mandatory I had to go to. I was gone for a few days. I missed my son's all-star little league game, and I also missed a hit-a-thon. I was able to watch it over my phone, and he knew that. But when other things came up, it's almost like being at work. Hey, listen, in 2 weeks I got to do this, that, or a third. I'm not going to be able to make it to that. Okay, but make sure you're at the next one. All right, no problem. You know, there's just a lot of misinformation and a lot of people that are listening to them. The hype sounds cool. It sounds fun. It sounds glorious. Don't buy into the hype because you're going to get yourself hurt. You're going to get yourself in trouble. Find your local pagan nation. Introduce yourself. Go down the right road. We don't hate nobody. We try to give everybody a fair shake. If you're straightforward, we'll give you a fair shake. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, it don't mean nobody ever talks to you again. You didn't make it. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
well, with that on topic, don't go up to a peg and said, "Yeah, I seen Skid's interview." He, you don't want to do that, man.
Or don't be like, hey, by the way, I was on RedTube the other day and saw one of your guys. I wouldn't pull that either. Just go up to your local pagan and be like, hey, this is my name. This is what I'm about. And can I hang out? You know, that's it. That's simple, man. You know, I know we're getting short on time. I want to say, no matter what, I thank you very much. The nation thanks you, for giving us our time. And yes, to answer the other fella's question, you were, obviously you were given my information to reach out to me. So yeah, we have a good communication log now that
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll be doing another interview here or there.
Well, I'm
If
just
the
glad the
powers
pagans
to
put
be,
their side out, man. That's what it needs to be done, especially in the news with these cops. People need to get educated right, get both sides of the story. And the pagans stepped up and did that, man. And I think it shows everybody how it needs to be done in the modern world now, especially with the internet when something goes viral within 5 minutes.
yeah,
It's the thing. And communication with the creators is the best thing for you because a lot of times we get more people watching us than the news does. So,
and you know what? Maybe one day soon I'll be flying by him. It's easy. Just he can look for a 2025 CVLRR with a 1% diamond on the back, and I'll be me waving as I fly by him.
there
You
you
know,
go.
listen, I wish the man no ill will. It would just be better if he would just stop everything and enjoy his memories that he had. And for everybody watching this, don't buy into all that craziness. You know, find your local chapter, talk to a guy or two. If you'd be surprised how many pagans you'll see. We're a very uh, quiet club. We don't politicize where we're at or anything like that. We're very nomadic, and sometimes look at tattoos. You might see somebody that has a 16s tattoo. If they're a 16s tattoo, then they're a pagan. They might have pagan tattoo. You takes time to earn them tattoos. I fortunately have been able to earn a few tattoos. You know, so there's different markers, and if guys have been riding, then they know what to look for. You know,
Mhm.
so um, to write some of these answers, the club was founded on brotherhood, not on religion. You know, what else was there? The shit.
Oh man, you go through the
Oh,
comment sections, you
the
open up a
diamond. Yeah, the
Pandora's
diamond
box.
thing. Yeah, he wore a diamond for a couple of weeks. I was wrong, 110% wrong. I said it. Um, I don't know, man. Anything else I missed that you can think of, Hollywood?
Nah, man, you did good, man. You did a great interview. I look forward to the communication when things pop up that needs to get the other side of the story out. Yeah, you were articulate, man. I had a lot of clubs come out and say, man, that was pretty damn good the way he articulated himself. So much awesome. It was a lot of awesome stuff, man. A lot of awesome
Yeah,
stuff.
and you know what? It builds a good rapport with the Pagans and with you. You know, you always obviously, you know, you got your job, you got your podcast, and you know, we know you talk to other guys, we know you talk to other clubs, you know, and I hope we hear from you again. You know, next
Right.
time maybe it
Oh,
doesn't have to be on club stuff. Maybe we could talk about you
we'll go
know,
out and have
some,
a drink, man.
yeah, definitely. I'll come out to
We'll have a,
Chicago.
I'll
You
have a
got
tea.
ice there right now.
Yeah, we got them all over the place right now, man. It's yeah, they ain't messing around right now.
Right, you
Uh,
should be running out there trying to interview. If you see a guy running around here named Skids, no,
you won't see me within a 10-block period of a cop, dude. There ain't no
fuck
way.
no, me either. I thought I was actually getting pulled over tonight because I've been waiting for the dealer from Jersey to send me my license plate to Pensy, and I bought this truck in like June. You know, anybody who knows me, I buy new trucks like I change my underwear. So my tag's been expired since July because they only
uh,
give me 30 days. And he was behind me. I'm like, oh man, what the fuck? So I just pulled into a public parking area. That way, if you know they tow it, they can't tow it. But I try to veer
it,
far, far away from the police whenever I can.
it was so bad when I had the accident because I got hit from behind, man. I did what I could to get that damn bike up and I left the scene, dude. Ain't no way you're talking to me, man. But anyway, this is Smash. We welcome him on the show anytime he wants to come on. And also, we welcome other representatives from the clubs. If you got something you want to put out there, let's get it out there for you guys. Great show, and we'll catch you all later. Rock on.
Welcome to 1990 Chicago, where trust is a trap and betrayal runs deep. The Betrayal Chronicles real-life book series by James Hollywood Machikari drags you into the middle of the biker underworld like never before. In Power and Betrayal, a kingpin rises and falls in a storm of drugs and deceit. Then Brotherhood and Betrayal throws you into a fight for loyalty where every choice bleeds. Get the Betrayal Chronicles series now with grit, guilt, and redemption on every page. Available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Fire up your speakers for Throttle Radio, your 24/7 rock and metal station, delivering nonstop riffs and raw energy. Catch the Insanity Morning Show and more from the Insane Throttle Biker News family, plus the heaviest hits in rock and metal. Download the radio.net or online radio box apps on Google Play or the Apple App Store or the new throttleradio.com. Throttle Radio, where the road screams loud. Tune in now, 24/7 rock and metal.